Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's now time for the companion video to the old games of the year list that I uploaded a few days ago. And as you can see, it's the new games of the year. So these are all stuff that actually came out in the year 2025, and I've played through and nearly all completed, but there is an exception on the list which I shall get to. And there'll also be some honourable mentions before I get to first place. I've got a handful or so of games that didn't quite make the list that I'd like to talk about briefly. I'll only show off a couple of them from the point of view of showing trailers, or we'll be here all day, but there's 6 or 7 games that I'd like to briefly touch upon. But without further ado, let's get on with looking at the 10th place game. So in 10th place, barely squeaking into the list, is Avowed, which is the new RPG, action RPG, which takes place from a first-person's perspective, much like Skyrim, from Obsidian Entertainment, and this is set in the same world as their Pillars of Eternity games, which are quite different actually in terms of gameplay, because they're traditional isometric CRPGs, much more like Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that, but this is more of an accessible game for console players, really. It lacks the depth of a Skyrim on the one hand, but it's also not a massive time sink like that either, whereas you could easily put 100 plus hours into Skyrim. Avowed comfortably comes in at about 50 hours tops if you want to do everything, but there are some interesting story choices and paths to go down, which means I would definitely consider replaying it years from now to see what the other decisions pan out like. But yeah, it's a really good looking game, at least on the Xbox Series X. I'd imagine it looks much the same on the PS5 and probably even better on a high-end PC. So if you like this sort of high fantasy action role-playing game, then I really recommend Avowed. So let's move on to 9th place. This is the latest in the 2 Point Museum series, the 2 Point series, which are spiritual successors to the theme games from Bullfrog. Back in the day, I was a huge fan of Theme Park and then Theme Hospital. In fact, Theme Hospital was my favourite by far. I used to play and replay that over and over. It wasn't the most difficult game in the world. I was able to complete it quite easily, but then 2 Point games came along, which are comprised of a bunch of old developers from Bullfrog, so they knew what they were doing really, and they did 2 Point Hospital first, which was very much a follow-up or a successor to Theme Hospital, and then from there they've been a bit more creative with what they're doing. They did 2 Point Campus, which is all about running a university, and now, as you can probably guess, 2 Point Museum is all about running various museums and exhibits, and they've really fleshed out the gameplay with this one, as well as just building and maintaining the museums. You can send your explorers off on expeditions to discover fossils and relics and things, and then you bring them back and you do research on them before you can incorporate them in your museum and things like that. So it's I had a ton of fun. I didn't finish it because I actually messed up one of the earlier museums and meant that it was going to be difficult to get 3 stars and progress. So I need to go back to it and just start that early museum over now with the knowledge that I acquired from the later museums, and not mess up in the same way, and then I should be able to get the stars required to unlock what I think is the final type of museum, the space museum. But I think there's also been DLC since I stopped playing, so I'd also probably want to buy it and try that as well, because typically 2 Point games release quite a lot of DLC for these games before they sort of move on to the next one. So I can't wait to see what they do after Museum, assuming that they carry on with this series. But for now, that's that. So let's move on to 8th place. Now we come to the launch of the Switch 2 and one of my most anticipated games of the year, Mario Kart World. And I say most anticipated of the year, but really I've been anticipating a new Mario Kart for the best part of 5 years, because it's been absolutely ages since Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U, and then they did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, and then around the time we thought we might get an announcement for a brand new game, they announced a ton of DLC instead, which spanned a whole year. So I really liked this game. I wasn't especially bothered about exploring the open worlds. I'm much more about the racing, to be honest with you. And the addition of the new Knockout Rally mode was fantastic. I love being able to traverse the open world from one point to another in a series of races, like Cannonball Run or something. So that was fantastic, and the standard cups are okay as well. I do sort of agree with some of the criticisms about the tracks being too sort of wide and straight to accommodate 24 races. I believe that's the reason why they did that. But there are still lots of creative touches, and I love how they've hidden retro tracks that aren't necessarily in the roster of tracks, just in the open world. That's cool as well. It was never really going to live up to MK8 Deluxe in its final form, I don't think, because going from 96 tracks, I think it was, in the final count, down to about 24 again in this new game does feel like a bit of a disappointment, really. And I'm just waiting for them to announce what they're going to do with DLC. I don't know how well this game is selling compared to MK8. I can't imagine it's quite as popular, because there aren't as many people who have been able to get hold of a Switch 2 even. So until the console's in more people's hands, I don't think it'll challenge the sales record of the previous game. But if you are into Mario Kart, then I really recommend trying it out. I think they've just discontinued the bundle that comes with a digital copy of the game, which is a shame. So now you'd have to buy a individual Switch 2, or wait for another bundle with a different game, and then you'd have to buy Mario Kart World separately at full price, which is a bummer, to be honest. But yeah, I still enjoyed myself. So now let's move on again. Now, I've said before, usually when I try and make these top 10 lists, I prefer to have completed the game before I consider them for inclusion. And I haven't finished Assassin's Creed Shadows completely, but I have spent 90 hours in it already, and then I stopped because something else came out that I wanted to play and got distracted. I do fully intend to play the last bit of the game, but even then I would imagine I've got at least sort of another 20 hours to go, looking at the map and all the stuff on it, and that's not even including the Claws of Iwagi expansion, which I got for free somehow. I think they just decided to give it to free to anyone who bought the game on day one, so that's good. And I really did enjoy playing as the two different characters. Naoe is a really nice main character, and she's the ninja type, so I'm not a huge fan of stealth games really, but once you get in the groove and you get get used to sneaking about the encampments and stuff and just killing everyone silently, then she's a ton of fun. And then eventually you get access to Yotei, and he's completely the opposite. If you just want to storm an entire castle and butcher everyone, then he's your man. It's really fun to play like that, but there are times where you want to go in silently and steal something or rescue somebody, so you can't use his sort of brute force techniques all the time. And also it's a fair number of hours before he's even sort of really introduced to the story, and you can switch between them. Of the two ancient Japanese games on the list, this one falls lower, really, because I just think they cram too much in Assassin's Creed games, really. I do like playing them, but it's a struggle to get these 100+ hour games done, really. And I preferred the shorter runtime of Ghost of Yotei, which is a bit of a spoiler for later up in the list, but never mind. So anyway, let's move on to the next game. In 6th place we have Ball Pit, which is a Vampire Survivors type game, which incorporates elements from Arkanoid or Breakout, although not really. When I first heard about the game and they compared it to those games, I was worried because I find those games frustrating. The ball constantly goes out of play and you die, but that's not what happens in Ball Pit, thankfully. You can miss, and it just means that it takes longer for your balls to come back. So you want to be catching them ideally so that you can constantly be attacking and killing the onslaught of enemies that are constantly coming at you, or you'll get crushed to death. So this is a roguelike, and so early on you'll struggle to get anywhere, typically, but as you get further and further and get more experience and level up and get stronger, you'll eventually be able to start clearing these levels, and you'll unlock more characters and more stages, and that's the loop basically. You just in order to unlock another stage, you have to have a certain number of keys for the elevator back in the main hub, and to get those keys you have to beat each of the levels with the characters that you unlock. So you'll constantly be going back to the early levels again with new characters to get another key. I'm not sure how many levels in total there are because I haven't done it completely yet. It's a good game to dip into for half an hour or an hour, but it's not really one you want to spend hours and hours in one sitting on, really. It's a good sort of Steam Deck or Switch 2 handheld type game to play when you're listening to a podcast or something. It's got the sort of synergy system from Vampire Survivors, so for example you choose one type of ball, say fire, and then you get offered wind, that you can fuse those two together eventually and come up with a sort of fiery tornado which rips through enemies. In between stages there's this town building aspect which is not the best part of the game by any means, but it's how you unlock stuff, and I wouldn't say it was entirely necessary to have this in the game, but I don't completely hate it like some have said they do. But this is an addictive and fun roguelike that I shall continue to go back to for quite some time until I've unlocked all the characters and got to the final stage, and then we'll see if they offer any additional content for it. But that's 6th place. Now in 5th place we have Dispatch, which is a game I've touched upon recently in my 5 interesting games I've been playing video. But if you remember Telltale games, they made sort of narrative adventure games where you'd make choices and respond to QTEs, and that would influence the path of the story. Well, this is that, and they've gone back to episodic format, which they did with stuff like Walking Dead and all of that. But instead of like 2 or 3 3 or more hour episodes, every episode can, apart from the finale, can be handily beaten in about an hour, with the finale being about an hour and a half. So it feels like you're watching an episode of really highly produced animated television. Think Invincible or something on Amazon Prime, but it's a video game, so you can direct the story. I really thought the voice acting was well done from both the big stars like Aaron Paul and Jeffrey Wright, and also the YouTubers they'd got on board, and the cast of Critical Role, who helped fill out the roster of superheroes. Yeah, I really enjoyed Dispatch. Maybe well, you might expect that I'd put it in a higher place. Initially I thought it would probably be quite high on this list, but 5th place isn't bad really, considering what else has come out this year. So let's move on to 4th place. This is Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, and this is the game that I played on my Steam Deck a month or so before the Switch 2 came out, and this was a massive time sink. I think I easily spent about 100 hours playing this, and I didn't quite do everything that I could. I did finish the main story, but I didn't level up every job in the game to its completion, because there are 14 different jobs to do. So I think some of the combat jobs I didn't finish, but most of them I did actually. And this was a follow-up to a game on the 3DS that was just called Fantasy Life. And this is very similar in a lot of ways. It's a open world action RPG where you choose a life role early on, and then you go to a master in that profession, and gradually sort of level up and fill out a skill tree, and be able to take on more advanced enemies and trees and cooking recipes, you name it. This one has added quite a lot of quality of life improvements, like instead of having to go back and switch jobs at the different masters, now you just switch on the fly, so you can take on every job in the game really all at once, and it will switch you between them depending on the context, which is great. Yeah, there's tons of companions to unlock. There's a whole home base building section which is reminiscent of something like Harvest Moon or Animal Crossing. And then there's a vast world that you eventually unlock. I think you're seeing the map of it on the screen now. And that's basically like Breath of the Wild. There's vast expanses full of enemies and challenges and world bosses and towers to find and unlock. So yeah, there's an absolute shit ton of content in here. My only criticism is that it's not really very challenging. The combat didn't really test me in the entire game. I don't think I even died on the main boss, and that's not really trying to show off. It's just more of the point that this is for very young players, really. I think it's not really meant for people who played a lot of games, but because I had such fond memories of the other Fantasy Life game. I wanted to play it, and I wasn't really disappointed. It's just a fun, chill time with vibrant, colourful graphics. Level 5 used to make some of my favourite games ever. They've slowed down a bit in recent years, but they've come back with a few projects recently, which means they're on the rise again. I'm looking forward to their other cop game that where the name escapes me, but it's been in development for a while. But anyway, I've been talking about Fantasy Life I for a while now, so let's move on to the third place game. And this is where Ghost of Yotei landed for me. I said, I think it was in a Facebook comment or something, or either maybe on the community tab in YouTube, that I don't think Ghost of Yotei would end up being my game of the year, and it hasn't, but it has landed higher than I expected. The reason why I don't think it's Game of the Year material is that it lacks the same impact as Ghost of Tsushima, because a lot of the gameplay is very similar or even the same as that game. It's got the same bamboo strikes, it's got the hot springs, it's got the foxes that you follow about, and even the basic sword play is kind of similar, although they have shaken that up a bit and given you more types of weapons. It's less about stances and more about the different weapon types this time. And the story is simpler than Ghost of Tsushima, I think. It's very similar to something like a simple revenge story like Kill Bill. Your family is slaughtered by the Yotei 6 at the start, and you're left for dead. And then after a period of time fighting as a mercenary in the wars, you come back home and you set off on a mission to kill all the members of the Yotei 6. So yeah, it's not a story that's very original really. You've seen it in loads of films and things, but it is quite good fun, and the main character is quite likeable, and it does make you want to go off and kill all the baddies. And Erika Ishii is very good in the lead role as Atsu, and I did enjoy befriending and levelling up the wolf. In this game, sometimes when you're downed and about to be killed, the wolf will randomly come in and save you, which is saved my hide a fair number of times. So it's still a beautiful game, even on a base PS5, and from what I understand, if you have a PS5 Pro, it's absolutely stunning. One of the best looking games available today. So yeah, that's Ghost of Yotei, taking bronze position. So now we'll move on to the silver medal, and this kind of surprised me a little bit. It's Yooka-Replaylee. So this is a fully reworked version of Yooka-Laylee, where they've added a ton of new stuff. They've decided to give you all of your moves right at the start of the game, instead of you gradually unlocking them. And they've given you access to the expanded version of each of the worlds from the get-go, where you originally had a small sort of portioned off part of a world, and then eventually you'd get to explore the full thing. So yes, and the original Yooka-Laylee was a game that I really wanted to love. I was very excited when it got announced, because if you didn't know, it's basically a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie by Rare, made by ex-Rare employees, such as Kevin Bayliss, who did the character design. But the worlds just felt a bit empty, and the whole game was lacking character a little bit. So they've gone back basically and added tons more Hades for you to find, and I ended up being really addicted to this for a weekend or so. It only took me a weekend, I would say, to beat the game, defeat the final boss, but I didn't beat it 100%. I've gone back and completed the first world 100%, and I intended to do the same with the rest of the worlds, but I just haven't done so yet, but I think I probably will. I've bought the game a second time, actually, because I originally played it digitally on the Xbox Series X, but I really wanted a physical copy on the Switch 2 that I can play on the go, and I've bought that, but I haven't unsealed it yet. So maybe when I want to play this game again and try and fully 100% it, I shall play the Switch 2 version instead. But anyway, that's the first 9 games, and now before I unveil my first place game, I'm going to go over the honourable mentions. So first of all, the one I want to show off is called Absolum, and this combines a classic sort of beat 'em up style game like Golden Axe with a roguelike. So each run is slightly different, and you'll earn currency as you go, and then when you die you'll go back to your base and you'll improve your character in various ways, and gradually it will become easier to make progress, and then eventually you'll be able to get all the way across the map and defeat the big boss. The reason why it's not on my top 10 is it's like all beat 'em ups, it gets a little bit repetitive. I've only been playing it by myself. I think it would be a lot more fun playing it in co-op with someone, but I haven't been able to do that. So but that's Absolum. And then the other one I want to show off is a recent release, Terminator 2D No Fate. And this is really the Terminator arcade game that we should have got back in the day. I know we did get a couple of arcade games and console games based on the Terminator, but none of them were especially brilliant. Maybe the light gun game was the best one, but this is the sort of game that you could imagine a company like Data East putting out back in the day in 90s arcades. For the most part, it's a run and gun game where you play as Sarah Connor or John Connor in the future. There's also a brief beat 'em up section where you play as Arnie. It's just really well done. It sort of retells the story of the film, but it's got some extra scenes that aren't in there. You can even change the path of the story if you want to. But yeah, the reason why it's not on my list is it's too short. It only takes about 45 minutes to complete the first time, and then you could play it through a couple more times to see the different paths and endings. But even then, those extra playthroughs are only about 45 minutes again. So now I'm just going to list off the rest of the games that didn't make the list. We've got Hades 2, which came out this year, but I haven't finished it. I've beaten the first main boss, but there's a second one that I haven't been able to beat, so I just need to sink more time into it and level up my character. We've got Miska Tiny Tail, which was a fantastic indie platformer. I really enjoyed my time with that. It's kind of got the aesthetics of Chibi Robo, but the gameplay more of something like Mario 64. There's Lost in Random, the Eternal Die, which is basically Hades but set in the Lost in Random universe, which I enjoyed quite a bit. There's Neon Inferno, which plays similarly to Terminator 2D, but is a sort of a cyberpunk infused run and gun shooter. We've got Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which might be surprising to some that it's not my game of the year or even on my top 10, but I just bounced off it for some reason. I got all the way through Act 1 and I saw the end of that, and then I didn't play any further, so it's not on my list because I didn't finish it. So, and then similarly, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii didn't make my list either because I got bored of it. I made the mistake of trying to do everything instead of just focusing on the story, and if you try and do that, the ship battles in the arena and stuff like that get quite repetitive after a while, so I just got fed up with it. Maybe I should just go in and play the rest of the story and leave it at that, because I don't like leaving Yakuza games unfinished. They release them at quite a rapid clip typically, so I want to be able to finish it before the next one comes out. But anyway, it's time for the overall game of the year. My gold medal winner, and that is Donkey Kong Bonanza. This came out about a month or so after the Switch 2 launch, and I was really looking forward to it. We were a bit starved of games that exploited the power of the Switch 2 hardware really early on, so I was always going to pick this one up for sure. And but I was a bit sceptical of the gameplay because it looked like it was a bit of a one-trick ape, really, because it looked like what you were doing all the time was just smashing things up, and that could get potentially boring and repetitive after a while. But I shouldn't have really worried, because this is by the team who made Super Mario Odyssey, which is one of the greatest platformers ever. And overall, Nintendo's track record for 3D platformers is exemplary anyway, so I shouldn't really have doubted them. But what we've got here is absolutely fantastic. Really good fun smashing things up, but in order to seek out and find all the bananas in the game, and there are like hundreds, almost 1,000 I think, hidden away, you can't rely on just simply smashing things up all the time. They very cleverly sort of gated things off, where you have to make use of all of your powers and things. And yeah, the visuals are fantastic. The frame rate did struggle at certain points, like some of the final bosses, where there was just materials and pixels and everywhere. So but it doesn't impact the gameplay adversely, in my opinion. I really like the character design, and Pauline, your companion character, didn't get annoying to me. That's another criticism that people have had about the game, is that she talks too much and can get irritating, but I found her quite funny and endearing, and I liked the sort of musical aspect of the game, where she's an aspiring songwriter, and you eventually hear one of her songs at the end, and then the post game is all about sort of her building up her confidence and writing another song, which I think in the lore will turn out to be the Jump Up Superstar song from Super Mario Odyssey, if you're familiar with that. But anyway, yeah, so it is a prequel to Super Mario Odyssey, and the rest of the Donkey Kong series in many ways. So that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think of my top 10. I'd imagine it's quite different from many people's, but so it is surprising to me even that Claire Obscure hasn't got any place on this top 10, but I can see it making its way into one of my old Game of the Year lists in the future, because I definitely will revisit it when things are a bit quieter and the hype has died down. I don't know about you, but massively hyped games put me off, to be honest. I'd rather wait until it's died down a bit and enjoy the game on its own merits than have everyone sort of telling me why I should love something. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Well done if you got all the way to the end again. I need to go and give this cat some attention now, because he's got fed up of hearing my voice and he wants to play or something. So yeah, for me and Teddy, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next video whenever that happens.